So we go on to tactic number 8. I hope you're making notes and can whiz back and forth through the video, obviously. It's essential that you write these things down, please, and whiz back and forth and watch it. So tactic number 8 is to design for the small screen. Most people are looking at YouTube on mobile devices, that is something like 40% of the market, or on the smaller dimension, even on YouTube. If you're watching it live on a desktop computer or Mac, you can just blow it to big screen, but most people don't. They watch it at the smaller size. So the majority of impressions your thumbnail will receive will have very small dimensions, so you have to be really careful there. Remember that people looking at it on a small screen, and a thumbnail is even smaller again. So you've got to be really careful that they're going to be seen very, very small, designed for that. I'm going to use an example here. This is Cartoon Hangover. This is Rocket Dog. And you can see a great big emotional man there. He's shocked, apparently. I've not seen the video, I have to say, but still. And that's quite good, but it's very big. If we shrink it down now, there it is as a thumbnail, and it's not very clear at all. What we can do, though, however, is we can zoom right in on his face, and you can see there, you've got the shock there. You can really see that. You don't need what we had in the original picture. I'll just put that back up. And all those details, the clouds and his burger and his hands and his whatever else he's doing. By zooming in just on the face, there you go, you can see the difference there. And then with the other things that we've shown with text, contrast and so on, there's lots of things that makes it so different. So think about the small screen. The first example just wouldn't work on a small screen. Details would be lost. I want to talk in section 9, tactics on choosing colours. And this is something you either understand or don't. And if you don't, you need to go and look it up because it's quite interesting. So if you're choosing colours for your thumbnails, you need to use what are called complementary colours. That's complementary. So you're not paying them a compliment. A complementary is the opposite, but balances. So slightly, probably the poorest explanation I've ever given. But technically, complementary colours are colours that are opposite to each other on the colour wheel. There's your colour wheel. And what we need to do is just choose complementary colours because there are colours that stand out against one another. So if our subject of our thumbnail is blue, and this is a thumbnail from Catbug, then we'd have a yellow and orange background. So Catbug is blue. The background ideally should be yellow and orange. These are complementary colours, blue and orange, so they stand out against each other. If they stand out, they catch your eye, therefore people see it, and on a page of thumbnails, the one that stands out is the one that gets clicked, so that works very well. Sometimes, examples that are pleasing to the eye, you can use colours that are very close. That's more pleasing to the eye, and it can work, and there's an example of that here. But the important thing, and perhaps the biggest takeaway from this course overall, and I hope everything's important, but are you ready for this? Write this down. The magic word is yellow. Try and use yellow whenever you possibly can. Statistically, if you've got yellow in your thumbnail, you will get better results than any other colour, or better than any thumbnail without yellow, I should say. So if you've got any yellow at all, you will always do better. So try and put some yellow in there, but don't tell everybody, okay? There's a reason for that. You have receptors or cones in your eyes, and they are really stimulated when I think it's green and red are mixed, because that's perceived as yellow to the eye. And so more receptors in our eyes have to work, more cones if you like. So the M cone, which is green, the L cone red, they're stimulated, so that stimulates your eye even more, and the yellow stands out more. That's as technical as I'm ever going to get. I'll just point this out to you. Have a look at school buses, have a look at taxis most places, and signs that are warning of something. They're all yellow. And there's a reason for that, quite simply, because we know that yellow stands out. It's interesting, you see backs of lorries, buses and signs sometimes, you see black and white vertical stripes as a warning. Not black and white, because most people think black and white are the most opposite, but actually we know now that black and yellow are the most contrasting colours. When you see chevrons, markings on backs of lorries, buses and so on, and the black and yellow stripes or arrows, the black and yellow are the biggest contrast. The yellow really stands out. Black we can't see to all intents and purposes. Black and yellow together really stands out. Now, black doesn't work so well on thumbnails because there isn't a black on televisions, on monitors. It's just the LEDs effectively are turned off. Not exactly correct, because unless you've got pure black, but if we can have yellow in there and some contrasting colours, great. Bottom takeaway, always use a yellow. You will get a better return if you use a yellow. You will always get more views. It is as simple as that. Now then, tactic number 10. Make your thumbnail easy to see and to understand. That seems silly and seems logical, but you need to make a note of it. You need to do it. Your thumbnails really should be easy to see and to understand to the casual viewer. People are looking for entertainment and information as they go through YouTube. And if your thumbnail can tell quickly and visually what your video is about, that'll work really well. Let me use these two examples here. This is for this is some sort of cake. It's a rainbow cake, apparently. Thank you. Always wanted a rainbow cake. And if we compare those, the first one doesn't tell the story of the video. The second one does. The first one is quite dark, doesn't show the finished product, and the thumbnail on the right there is bright. It shows the finished product, shows the audience what the video is about, which you can probably guess from the second thumbnail. It's a woman making a cake, a rainbow cake in this case. I'm quite fascinated by rainbow cakes. I'm going to have to go and look that up because I've never seen that before, and I love cake. One of my few vices, I promise. The sorry about that. The thumbnail on the left, you've got no idea what the video is about. It's somebody pouring something into something, and even if you're an expert cake maker, it looks very complicated with all those jugs or jars and things, whatever. But on the right, you've got all that contrast there. You've got a great clear picture. You've got great colours. You've got a very happy lady. She's clearly made that cake. It's a very big cake, but I suspect that's two pictures superimposed. You get the idea. It really stands out there. The second one is obviously very appealing. A smiling woman, a smiling-looking woman, and a woman that looks as though she's smiling. Well, she is, and a rather delicious-looking cake. So the appeal of that, a nice lady, somebody smiling, eyes, whites of eyes. You've got the contrast with the background. You've got the colours. Again, look at the left-hand thumbnail there. Somebody pouring something that doesn't look so nice into a pan. It isn't going to work. Let's go on to tactic number 11. Hope you're keeping those notes going and whizzing back and forth, please, looking at this over and over again, back and forth, because it'll make all the difference. You're not going to be able to take all this in one take, in one listen. And do come back to the video and watch it over and over again, and you'll spot things you didn't realise before. So tactic number 11 is you must represent the first 15 to 30 seconds of the video. Your first 15 seconds of your video is an intro bit about what you're going to show, but you must show in the thumbnail, ideally, what's going to appear in the first 15 to 30 seconds. Frankly, nature of viewership on YouTube. If they feel duped or they feel a bit cheated, if you don't show what's in the thumbnail quite early on, then people are going to get a bit cheesed off. It may well be that it's later on, but you're going to get bad marks. You're going to get people leaving your video earlier. Remember that one of the key metrics that YouTube uses is how much of your video is watched. And if people are leaving quite quickly, then YouTube, and that's a clear signal that people don't like your video. And the reason they don't like your video is because your thumbnail may have, in their mind, misled them. So if you have a thumbnail that represents what happens in the first 15 to 30 seconds of a video, you've less chance of people leaving. That will work really well. So reorganize your video. Let's use the example again. I'll leave the lady of the cake up. That's the end result, but she can talk at the beginning. This is the end result. This is me with the cake. This is what we're going to make. And then she can show the making. If she's gone straight in, here's my kitchen, here's making a cake, here's doing this, here's doing that. 4 minutes later, there's the cake. Then people might turn off before then because, like anything, making the ingredients of anything isn't interesting. It's not visually appealing, but a finished cake always is. So always please, for tactic 11, represent the first 15 to 30 seconds of a video. We're going to come on to tactic number 12, and that's avoid placing anything, I get tongue-tied on that, in the lower right-hand corner of your thumbnail. Now, I touched on this a little earlier, and it's very important because YouTube will cover the lower right-hand corner with either a timestamp on the right here showing how long the video is, or you can click to watch later and it'll put that little timer and thing there. So also, because the way people read in most of the world, you read from top left to bottom right. So you start on the left, you read to the right, you go to the back to the left and back and forth. So anything bottom right-hand corner is the last thing to be read. And of course, anything you want to put to be read, text and so on, anything you want to be visible, we tend to look top left first, bottom right last. So Don't put anything important in the lower right hand corner. That's because YouTube will either put a clock or a watch later button there, but it will also get seen last. And you saw the earlier examples where the Cartoon Network were putting some text there. When they design their thumbnails and their design thing, it looks good, but then it's overlaid by the bit of text, doesn't look so good. So don't put anything, please, in the lower right hand corner if it's any way important, relevant, or whatever, try and avoid it. And that brings us neatly to tactic number 14, which is analyse your competitors, analyse your competition. You need to be looking all the time at your competitors on YouTube. What are they doing and what can you learn from them? And if they're being successful with certain things, you need to consider emulating that. And thumbnails are certainly an important part of that. I want to show you this particular graphic. This is from a channel called Toy Pizza. And everything they did, well, you can see for yourself, it follows the rules. There's a clear graphic there. There's nothing obscure in the corner. You've got the pinwheel, the windmill behind, the sunburst behind. You've got various levels. You've got 3Ds. And it was doing quite well. They were quite pleased with it. What Toy Pizza channel did, though, is they looked at their competitors. So they're aimed at a certain age group. They're looking at what age we're watching their videos and what age the target audience they want. Remember, in your YouTube stats, you've got absolutely tons of information. And they realised, in actual fact, the particular age group that they were aiming for had already been trained, conditioned. Trained is actually quite a strong word, but it's probably right. That a different type of thumbnail actually works for them. And here's the sort of thumbnails that are working on the same age group, and you can see they're very different from what we've shown you before. Different types of graphics, lots of branding there. You can see talking about toys, because the channel's Toy Pizza, remember, talking about toys. Very plain backgrounds, but with lots of text there sometimes. Only one toy in each thumbnail, generally speaking, and a very muted, very plain background. A full picture of the actual toy being described, rather than just a part of it coming out of the screen or whatever. And they saw that the competitors were using these for Toy Story, the Hippo there, and McDonald's and so on, and they were getting far more views. Kids were finding those more appealing. What they did is they did a before and after test, and this is it here, and you can see that's the before on the left and the after on the right. And what they've done, Call of Duty is a big name there. They've shown the toy in full. They've got a nice, relatively plain background there, but dripping away. Still got the pin burst, but quite soft there, not as strong perhaps as they've done before. And that before and after made a huge difference to the videos. Now, they won't release the exact figures, exactly what it was, but the rumour is that they got 3 to 5 times the views on the same video that they did before, and that's allowing for the fact that overall the channel was growing and so on. Those are new people who had not been to the channel before. So something as simple as that, you can certainly study what the competitors are doing, and that can make a huge difference to how well you perform. That's just an amazing example, isn't it? You see the before and after, very different. The first one meets all the rules, but then they looked at their audience, the children in this case, but same for you if you're aiming to adult males, young girls, whatever. Have a look at what the competitors are doing, and you can just learn so much. Absolutely fascinating.